Alrighty, guys, welcome back. We are here, sort of trying a new thing this year so far, just spacing out a little bit more every 2 weeks or so a video, and just a bit more talking points, get a bit more engaging. And to be honest with you, we're getting straight into this one. There is some big talking points in this episode, and none bigger than the recent punishment you can call it. I'd probably call it a non-punishment for what happened the other night. Obviously, the raised elbow, and we've all seen it. Let me kick off with you, Dane. You're the feisty one of the group, but on a fair income level, I think 6 weeks is it, you go buy a lotto ticket.
Yeah, absolute dog shot. I reckon it should have been 10 to 12 weeks. It was just dirty. It was filthy. It was unnecessary. Player wasn't expecting it. It wasn't like they had, any head exchange or anything like that. We don't want that stuff in our game. We just want fair, good, hard, tough footy. It's just appalling. He should have spent longer on the sidelines.
Like, I can't get how he can use the argument behind it that it was accidental or something like that. Who is running in their right mind and runs with an elbow up? Like, the damage that could have done could have been seriously. It could have been a seriously messed up injury, and the face of the Penrith player could have been something else. Sid, what were your thoughts, mate? 6 weeks, I tell you. As I said earlier, I'm out getting that lotto ticket ASAP. So,
well, look, I'm trying to look at it objectively, and both sides of the situation. I guess probably the only thing that would have gone in his favour was the fact that it happened so quick. The moment that the attacker gets right in his space, and they get in each other's space basically, because he's moving up and the attacker's running a decoy and or throwing the pass, or about to throw the parcel. It was really, really quick. It was really, really quick. I mean, some blokes do brace themselves for impact, and some blokes let their body take the hit. And maybe in his defence, he was like trying to just brace some impact, not get winded.
I don't buy that though. I don't buy that. Yeah. He was running past the bloke. The play was in the corner, so that he wasn't even looking like he was getting the ball, and he's run past him and whacked him with an elbow that just cleans him up.
Sid's his solicitor, that's why.
Like, if that's the argument they're using, and that's how they've ended up getting 6 weeks, good on his bloody lawyer, as Dane's saying. Like, I think everyone out there is going to be hiring this bloke after this. He's going to be worth billions of dollars, but dead set. Like, come on, guys. It's rugby league. We've all played the game. We've watched it for ages, and I can't remember a time, even in just running, where you run like that. I'm sorry, but you don't run like that.
Well, he did apologise, so that's an admission of guilt. I know these days everyone apologises for everything. So, the other side of the coin is that he did apologise, and he said it was a brain snap, and it's not a good look for the kids, blah, 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 whether it's scripted or not.
No, that's just a media play. Get him off. It's a media play.
Yeah, I think so. I think his manager told him, you better say something, but look, as far as the 6 week goes, maybe I would have leaned towards 8-10 weeks. 8-10 weeks.
No, I think the other part to this, and they had a big thing about literally the day before the season started with the crackdown saying that the judiciary is going to be different this year. Latrell got 6 weeks last year for what happened to Manu. And honestly, if I'm looking at both and they've both gotten the same amount of weeks, Barnett's is 2-3 times worse than what Latrell, at least it was in the run of play. I think you could warrant that may have been an accident, though the damage and what happened was obviously not good at all, and did deserve at least a few weeks suspension. But at least that was sort of in a play, in sort of a tackle. Manu just got the ball away. This one, it was
a lot closer to the ball. That's
sure. This one is not even within cooee of the ball, and he just whacked. And then you hear that a lot of it was to do with a minute or two beforehand. Apparently, Chris Smith whacked Barnett, so he was out to get him, and it was you can't tell me that's not intentional. He's out to get him, and he's just. I'm just gobsmacked by 6 weeks. I think the NRL has given themselves here once again. Well, they had a chance to give the players a lesson, and they haven't.
To make a statement.
Yeah, well, make the statement, and they basically just haven't. I reckon if a player feels like he's just going to come out now, there'll be another elbow this year. There'll be something. There'll be some kind of grubby axe now, because the player will go, I'll only get 5-6 weeks. I'll be back after a short holiday. What on that though? With Dane, like, is suspension's the only good way to do this moving forward, or is there other ways they can maybe punish players and make sure that this sort of thing happens? Because, as I said, if this hit him in the wrong part of the face or something, we've seen it with coward punches in the past. This could have been seriously worse. Like I don't want to put it too far out of reach, but if a punch can do that damage, imagine what an elbow like that at pace could have done. So is there any other ways you could do it?
Yeah, look, I reckon, I mean, they were dishing out fines and whatnot last year. I don't think the fines are really that sufficient. And if they do something off field, the fines are pretty severe. But, if, they're doing like a TikTok video like Nathan Cleary and all that sort of stuff, and I can't remember what the fine was, but it was probably 10 grand or 20 grand or something like that. It wasn't low. You're talking about harming somebody here. Like, you look at what happened to Manu, fine him 20,000, 10,000 suspended, give him, 6-8 weeks, whatever it's going to be. And then for repeat offenders, the fine goes up, or if you repeat offends within a certain period of time, then they keep that other, $10,000 or whatever they come up with. Start hitting them in the pocket. I mean, that's why they play the sport. One, because they love it. Two, for the coin. And just, come down harder and people will stop doing it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting now. I think they've missed it. It should have been, as you guys have said, at least a 10-weeker, and he's basically just got off for mine. But look, next point, guys, and something that I'm pretty sure Sid has raised, and just about has the wrestle come back into the game? I know they were trying to get rid of it. The 6 agains seem to have gone. I know the new rule where inside the 40, coming out of your own end, it's actually a penalty now. It's on a 6 to go. So that's obviously helping that, less than the 6 to goes. But are we starting to see the wrestle back a bit more? And Sid, go on and explain a bit more. We've got a guest. Hold on. We've got a guest. We've got to add a guest to this. Is live, and look at
the mugshot.
He's on live.
There he is.
We'll bring him in actually just quickly. Jace, welcome.
Yes.
We were just talking about the punishment of the elbow. You're obviously the only current rugby league player for us, playing for the Coomera Koalas and doing a mighty fine job in pre-season, may I add. Have you ever run with your elbow raised? I'm curious.
Not deliberately, not to take out a player the way Barnett did, like running the ball, like taking a hit up, putting your arm up to defend yourself. That's a different story. You're never trying to make contact with someone's head. You're just trying to defend yourself. But what he did, he went out of his way. You can see him step towards him and throw that elbow up. Like, it would have been, he was trying to get across in cover defense. It would have been easier for him to take a step to the left and go around him to get across there in defense, but he went out of his way to hit him. Like, 6 weeks is a complete joke for that thing.
What would you be given? What would you have given him?
I say minimum 10 weeks. Minimum 10 weeks. He went out of his way to do it. There was a raise. It wasn't like he shoulder charged him in the chest. It was an elbow to the face, to the jaw. So, yeah, minimum 10 weeks.
Yeah, that's been pretty much what we've all basically said here as well. I'll tell you what, that is an impact and a half off the bench. That's fantastic. He's just spoken more sense than you two Galahs did in that 5 minutes. So, mate,
dip up or you'll cop an elbow.
Well, welcome on board. So, Sid, back to the second point. Do you want to go in a bit more to what you sort of noticed and explain to the viewers your wisdom of your brain?
Oh man, just the convenient tangles in the play the ball area. It's very frustrating. When you know the game, when you know what you're looking for, a tackle's been made. You got your traditional holding down with the hands, And you get other things where, oh, my arm is stuck or my leg is stuck. And there was a lot of that. And it's just the 6 agains have just disappeared. The refs just are happy to let them continue to do those tangles. And, the players aren't stupid. As soon as they see players are like children. If they can get away with stuff, if your kids know they can get away with something, they'll keep doing it. They'll push your limits and they'll keep doing it. And that's exactly what the players are doing. They're pushing the refs and they're looking at him. Well, he's not blowing it. Beautiful. I'm just going to get tangled in every single tackle. I don't know if it's so that they can keep the game slow so the ref can keep up, or, maybe they're not quite match fit yet. I don't know what it is. Whether it's by design or not, I don't know. But it completely undid all the good work of cleaning up of the ruck and giving the little guys opportunity who are getting killed out there right now. Guys like Bowen, what's his name? Preston Campbell's son. Tyrell Sloan.
Matty Bowen retired 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got a son who's pretty quick as well. Guys like that, you're waiting to go to another level, and they're being getting crunched because there's just no space at the moment.
Yeah, I think just on your mention of the tangle and things like that. I also feel like it's a lot of the players at the moment are milking, and I think the refs are catching on to that a bit this year. I've noticed the same, but I actually think a lot of players now, because they actually get the penalty to get out of their own half of the field now to go upfield, and are milking it a bit more. So I'll give refs a little bit of credit so far. I actually feel like they've been pretty good this year to date. The bunker is another story. We won't get into that again. But I feel like the on-field ref at the moment so far has been okay with that side of things. And I think players are trying to milk at the start of the year, seeing what they can get away with, what they can't. So they're tangling the defence up and into weird positions, but they're not letting them get away with it so far. And I actually really like that. I don't mind letting the players sort of deal with it, especially at the start of the year, and then getting a bit more. Dane, have you noticed anything with the way the game's been so far the last 3 weeks?
Not really.
Yeah, you're just whatever.
No, I think it's a bit sloppy. And Sid hit the nail on the head. Like it is a strategic play. You slow it down, especially if you're playing teams like the Panthers. You'd want to use those sort of tactics because they're so fast. They get down that field and they're just bang, 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 and they're just rocking that ball down. And I do agree with you too, Joel, that the ref with the milking side of things, he sort of just get up, play the ball, and then they just get on with it, and then they stop milking as much. We don't want to see penalties, with them getting soft penalties to get down the field. You want to see them earn their field position and try scoring opportunities and attacking opportunities. I'm not a fan of the wrestle thing. I still remember back in the day when Melbourne Storm introduced the rolling onto the back, and that really slowed them, distorted where they were, and it was just such a slow game. But I really want the fast sort of play the ball, the fast game, and hopefully they can, in some way, shape or form, get that out of the game to just keep that flow going really quick.
Yeah, look, we've brought Jason off the bench, so I want to save him. I want to time his runs right, so I'm going to move to play 3 and have him literally just charge on the ball here, because Jaden Sewer, I don't know if this is going to be a record, but I think he's on a hat-trick now of sin bins. He's had 2 weeks in a row where he's been sin bin. I think he might be the first player, if he gets done this week against the Eels, who might be a hat-trick of sin bins, which I don't think we've ever seen before. We'll have to get that stat checked out. But Jace, as soon as you think of Jaden Sewer, do you think dirty player, or do you think maybe he's done a bit in his past and he's just a victim of his reputation, basically?
Yeah, I think you have a few players like that in the NRL. Like at the moment, like you have Jack Hetherington, who pretty much, if he does anything wrong, he's automatically penalised ridiculously. And then you have Sewer, who I don't think he goes high deliberately. He tries to hit the player as hard as he can, and he does. He's an amazing hitman, but his shots just creep up a bit. And I think, it's his past discretions that keep getting him into hot water. And I think because of that, he does get sin bin a fair bit. And it doesn't help, like the fact, like I said, he tries to hit the player as hard as he can. It's never malicious. He's just genuinely trying to hit the player as hard as he can. And sometimes the player, tries to get a little low to protect himself or whatever. And so it just manages to hit him high by accident. I don't think it's deliberate on his part, but yeah, he does get penalised for his past discretions, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Sid, I know he's your player, so I don't want to hear a massive defence campaign of your player. What I want to ask you, though, is you've obviously got quite a good player there, and you don't want him missing 10 minutes each game. So if you're the coach, if you're Anthony Griffin and you're speaking a bit slow because that's what Griffin does, are you actually pulling him aside and actually trying to, maybe it's something to do with his tackling technique? Are you having a bit of a chat to him?
Well, look, what you've asked is what Griffin was asked in the post-match press conference, and he actually answered that. And they basically said to him, look, are you going to ask the league what's going on, or, can you help us out here, sort of thing, or are you going to do something on your end? And he actually said what you just said, which is Griffin said he wants to look at Jaden lowering his target area. It's the easiest thing. We don't want to worry too much of what's out of our control. Do what we can, what's in our control. I have 2 points for that. One, Victor Radley knocked himself out, lowering his target zone after tackling the same way for X amount of years. All of a sudden, he's got to lower it, and his head goes in line with the elbows, and he knocked himself out. It was very dangerous. Not last week, the week before. And another point, which I'm trying not to blow up about here, which got no attention at all. When the Dragons played Panthers, and that O'Sullivan, that reserve $2 halfback they got going around while Cleary's injured, he went down like he'd been shot. And then when Sewer got 10 in the bin, he jumped to his feet, smiling and giggling like a schoolgirl. Now, obviously, he milked it, and I've got to congratulate the ref on his reaction. The ref said to him, no, you've got to go get your HIA. And he tried to tell the ref that, I just done it with the trainer. I said, no, you've got to still go get your assessment. But that game was we're never going to beat the Panthers, of course. But that game was still in the balance. It was 10-6 at the time. And then when Sewer went off, it went to 22-6, and it was game over after that. So that nonsense has got to stop as well. If you're going to penalise everything, like you said earlier about the milking, they got to look out for this.
I'm going to move on to the next point here, and we've got Dane, and there's 2 teams we want to talk about, but I'm going to keep it to one just for now, and talk about the Roosters, because I think all of us had pretty much Roosters winning the comp, if not in the top 4 at least. And it's been, I know they're notorious for slow starting, but I think it's more so the way they've lost their first 2, the 2 games that they have lost so far this year. And both times they just looked totally out of it. They didn't even look like they got out of the gates, to be honest. And last week, South coming off two losses, we're going to be desperate. And they just sort of, from the get-go, outclassed, and Latrell was Latrell, and we've all said that he's going to probably have a massive season this year, and he needs to, and he started on the front foot. Dane, as a Rooster supporter, are you worried about this start, and what, not necessarily the start, because we've seen it before, but I don't think we've seen the Roosters, as I said before, play as poorly as they have been so far with the star power that they've got.
Yeah, look, firstly, I follow the Bulldogs now. I'm off the Roosters. They've been really
the jerseys come off quickly.
They've been really disappointing. I don't know if they still think they're playing trials, or it doesn't really matter or count. I don't know if it's a thing with Keary losing confidence, or still trying to find his way coming back. I don't know. They just look a little bit lost. Even the errors out of Teddy in the last game, just terrible. Jared Waerea-Hargreaves, he looks slow and old. He looks like he's running at 300 miles an hour, but he's really only going at about 2 or 3 k's an hour. I don't know. They've got something going on in there. I mean, Suwali's due back. He's not going to make a huge difference anyway. I mean, he's going to be a good, strong player for us. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I just think they've got to adapt to the new, faster style of football. And I think Keary having a bit of time out, I think he needs to get his hands on the ball a little bit more and be a bit more creative, and, forward sort of doing their job. Victor Radley's been, pretty quiet, and yeah, they've got a lot to work on. Hopefully they'll come good though.
I'll say this about your team. I think a massive issue when you sit there and think about it, I think there's too many Chiefs now. And I say that because at the back end of last year, when you started to get a bit of momentum with all the players you had out, you had young Sam Walker leading the pack around, leading the team around, basically, all that pressure. And you had Tedesco helping him out, sort of overplaying his hand, but it was sort of working at the same time. And I think Radley had quite a bit of time off towards the back end of last year. And obviously we didn't see Keary either. And they're both massive parts of this team we've seen in past years. And I think they've both come back now. You're trying to fit 4 players into something that's normally done with 2, maximum 3 for a rugby league club generally. So obviously Robbo, we all say Robbo is one of the best coaches in the game. Some say he's the best at the moment, while someone like Bennett isn't coaching. But I think that's a massive issue that needs to happen. Is there a chat you go to Keary? You know what? You've got the experience, but you're also coming back from an injury. Let's take a backward seat for the next 10 weeks or so. Let young Walker keep doing what he was doing last year, because he's got the confidence up at the moment. We've seen that with young Flanagan at the Dogs. Once you lose a player like that's confidence, they can be shot for years to come. So, Jace, we'll ask someone who isn't a Roosters supporter, but Jace, what are your viewings of the Roosters at the moment, and can you nail it down to anything?
I honestly, I have to agree with you there. I think there are too many Chiefs at the moment. Like, you got Sam Walker, like you said, he's took over last year and took the reins with Keary out, and he had a lot of pressure put on his shoulders, and in a lot of ways he did deliver. And then he's come into this year where he's used to that kind of responsibility being placed on him. And then you got Keary coming back. It's almost like the two of them are fighting for that dominance during the game. And then you have Tedesco, who's Tedesco. When he calls for the ball, you give him the ball, type thing. You know, it's I think if this sort of form was mid-year or later on towards the end of the season, then I'd be worried. But, you know, it's the Roosters. These guys are professionals, you know. He's one of the big 4 teams in the comp, and I think they'll come right. They'll get their shit in order and they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think the last little bit on that, and Dane pointed it out, was Maria Hargraves was pretty vocal in the pre-game and things like that in the week leading up to last week about wanting to really get out and bash South. And I was the same as you, Dane. I was sort of watching him, and he just doesn't seem himself at all. And you sometimes ask these players, like, you question in your mind, you go, when's the right time for him to go? And people question Cam Smith, saying, mate, he could have easily gone one more year, but at the same time, he left at his peak. Has Hargraves now going on for 1 or 2 more too many years? I think the next month or so of footy will determine that question. So, Sid, I'm saving you for the next one here, because we've all been pretty vocal on this club in the past, and after 6 months off, it hasn't got any better, and that's the West Tigers. It's getting to some really deep, dark levels at the moment for this club. It's not good. And I know if you already start laughing, because I think that's all you can do at the moment. You just got to laugh when you think of this club, because if you're not, I'm glad I'm not a Tigers fan, because I'd probably be crying and I'd probably be depressed. It's not good. They had 5 months or so to fix this up, and they've had so much time to make necessary changes. I look, first of all, their recruitment. They've signed someone like Hastings. They've signed someone like Tyrone Peachy. They're not going to set the world on fire. I can guarantee you, maybe 1, maybe 2 clubs other than the Tigers may have looked at getting those blokes. The rest would have laughed and gone, not interested, don't need it. They continue to sign misfits and then wonder why their team isn't successful. You look at their team, there's no gelling at all going on there. Sid, where are your issues at the Tigers at the moment? And I think there's way more than just the coach. I don't think Maguire's the issue at the moment. I just think this playing group is all over the shop.
Man, there are so many issues. The recruitment is one of them, and like you rightly said, over the last few years, the recruitment's been strange to say the least. You know, paying big dollars for guys like Josh Reynolds and Mbai and these sort of guys. And it's just, I think they lack identity. In short, I try to keep it short. They lack an identity, and I think regards to their recruitment, they have to face the fact that while they made mistakes in the past, they took gambles and made mistakes with those guys that I mentioned, among others. They have to pay overs for a big name player, at least one, if not two or three, to build a team around. They've gone a different way and bought, players that are stopgaps, if you like. Obviously, they lost Mbai and they got Tyrone Peachy, theoretically about the same player. Peachy's probably a bit quicker. Mbai's probably a bit smarter in terms of a rugby league player, but it's like they're just trying to avoid relegation, and there's no relegation in our competition. They've got no aspiration at all. It's just, I don't know. I really feel for Tigers fans. It's not next year. It's not last year. It's not. I'd be surprised if they don't come last. It's just terrible.
You mentioned the identity part, and it's interesting because if you look around the clubs, you can go, look, the Storm. You ask anyone, you go, the Storm's identity. They're robotic and it works for them. They're that good at what they do. They do the same thing every week. You say the Roosters, generally, they're pretty just a tough football side that you know what you're going to get from them. Penrith now, they're sort of the entertainers. If you let them get on the front foot, they're going to smash you. If you ask people about the Tigers, you generally would say razzle dazzle because that's what you normally would associate with the West Tigers. I don't know the last year we've seen that. I think it's probably 3 years ago when they had Farah and Benji back on their swan songs and actually started the year half decent and they were playing all right footy. But apart from that, we haven't seen it. And I've heard someone say it the other week, is that all the clubs are trying to copy top teams like the Storm, but not all the players can do what the Storm do. So you need to go out of the bubble and come up with your own ways to play footy. And for mine, the Tigers is getting those attacking players in. Yep, let a team score 24 points on you, but you're going to score 30. So it doesn't matter as such. So be a high entertaining footy team. Dane, the Tigers, where do you see it so wrong at the moment? And can you see any kind of fix this year?
Look, I can't see a fix this year. Definitely not. I think Hastings is a good player for them. I think the underlying issue from my point of view is, Luke Brooks has been there for quite some time. I mean, I've made it pretty clear I don't rate him. I don't even think he deserves to be playing first grade, to be honest. I think he could be a bit of a so-and-so. I think he'd be pretty forceful and pretty dominant. You look at the players that are left, like, Moses left, Teddy left. I think they've got to get rid of him. I think he is part of the root cause of problem for that club.
Well, I heard,
and it must be a culture thing. There has to be some sort of a culture thing because it's almost like a turnstile, that club. Players come in, even the coach is leaving, when Cleary left.
Yeah. I've heard massive rumours that the only reason Brooks is still at the club was because of the injury to, what's his name? Had a mental blank. Dewey, Dwayne Dewey. That's the only reason he's at the club. Otherwise, in the preseason, he was gone. And apparently what I've heard is as soon as he's back fully fit, Dwayne, they're actually going to move Brooks on mid-year. So that's what I've heard. That's the rumour I've heard, that Brooks' time at the club seems to be over and they want to move into a direction where Hastings is halfback and Dwayne is the 5'8" for the club. So I think they know that the time up for Brooks is here. I just think they should have. I reckon the fans would have been happier if they just let him go, start it from there. If they have a young guy come in, Jock Madden or something, even if they're losing, at least they're starting to make movements for the future, and the fans can see that. Jace, I know you really probably don't care about the Tigers, but is there anything that we haven't mentioned yet about improving the club? I think everyone just sort of. I don't think that they're a team that anyone can hate. We all just love watching them when they can play attacking footy, and we just haven't seen it.
Yeah, 100%. Like Sid said, UN said, they have no identity. The identity they had, that they were the entertainers. That group of core players that were, part of the entertainers or moved on. And the Tigers, when they did their recruitment, they didn't get that style of player back in. Like you see with the Dogs, I know they haven't been so crash shot the last couple of years, but they're always known as the Dogs of War. And the people they recruited were still that type of player, the hard, gritty player that's willing to get into a fight and stay in there. But I think the biggest thing with Luke Brooks is the fact that he doesn't want to be at the club. Why would you keep a player at a club that doesn't want to be there? Move him on. You've got a young, talented kid like Jock Madden coming through, and he's proven that he's got the goods and he can do it and he can play really well. So why wouldn't you just move him on and move on to the future? Like, get that player in, start building around these players. Like they haven't necessarily said this is a player that we can build around with any of their players, really. They've just sort of thrown a team together and gone, I think this team work on the field. They haven't ever tried to build around someone that's going to be the future of the club, I think.
I'd love to know what they did in the preseason, because it seems like none of the players know any of each other, and there's been no off-field camp or something to get to know each other better. It just seems they're dead set all over.
They must have done the training by Skype or something.
Oh, they versed they had 10 minutes, the last 10 minutes with one Warriors player down, and they just, honestly, a proper halfback grabs that game and wins it. Last tackle, boys. We're going to put up the big midfield bomb here, and surprise packet of the season. It can be so far anyway. So a team that either surprised you in a good way, so that they're towards the top of the ladder and it wasn't really expected, or a team on the other end of the spectrum who are down the bottom and struggling, and you thought they would be producing a bit better so far. I'll go Dane first. I'll see what club he's picked out and for what reasons.
Oh, look, there's a couple, and you've got to say position 2 and 3 on the ladder at the moment, Cowboys, Sharks. But if I have to say anything, I'd have to say Sharks, because I think, what's his name? Bloody halfback came from the Storm.
Nico Hines.
Nico Hines. I think he's just jumped in and hit the ground running. And I really like the footy that he's playing at the moment. And I think he complements Moylan a little bit, and Moylan complements him as well. I think there's more to come from them. So Sharks are the surprise packet for me, and I do like watching them play, and more so now than I have in the past. So yeah, they're the surprise packet for me.
Yeah, I think it's pretty confident you can say now. I think already after 3 weeks, you can say Nico Hines is going to be the signing of the year. So he's been absolutely phenomenal so far. And I think a lot of teams out there who had the chance to maybe push for him are probably regretting that they didn't up their offer just a little bit more to get him over, because he's going to be a talent and a half. Sid, what's yours for either good or bad?
Well, I definitely agree with what Dane said. I'm not going to add any more. The Sharks have been very impressive. Cowboys for me are the good one. The surprise packer. I mean, I picked them last, so got to be honest, and the way they're playing is really. It's dynamic at times. When they spread the ball, they're not scared. They're just trying. They're just playing. They look like a team with no pressure. They look like they're happy to not be miles behind the competition, to not be lingering around that wooden spoon. They look like they know there's a new year. Let's just throw the ball around and see what happens. A lot of energy. There's line breaks. I'm seeing when oppositions do line breaks, there's cover defense left, right, and center. They're putting their body on the line. They're putting their heads on the line. It's very impressive early on. I know it's early. And the other one. Yeah.
Just on the Cowboys quickly, can you issue Todd Payton an apology, please? Because you had him as a pretender. So,
look, to motivate your players is one thing, but to be a tactician is a different kind of coach. I'll reserve the right to hold that apology. We'll see how we go. Okay. Oh God. Yeah. So but the surprise packer back the other way is definitely a tie between Roosters and Manly. They're both on struggle street, and they can't seem to get a quick play the ball with this wrestle at the moment, and it's affected them big time.
Yeah, unlucky to those turbo owners of Super Coach and fantasy. Jace, who are you going for?
I've got 3 surprise packets. Firstly, my first one has
Only got
to.
2 minutes left.
It starts with an apology to Sid because we laughed at him when he said that Newcastle would be top 4, and it turns out they are.
And Billy Smith at play too.
Yeah. He's been good. He's been good early.
Yeah, with Newcastle, I think they're a surprise pack. I don't think anyone at all, even Newcastle, saw themselves being in the top 4. Second is the Sharks because, just how well they're playing. They had a new coach, new half. I didn't think they'd be this good this soon. And so, hats off to them. And then the other one is probably Manly because a lot of people had them, pretty much at the top of the ladder early on with Turbo and everything. And teams have just managed to figure out how to neutralise Turbo, and they've left them stuck down the bottom of the ladder. So, yeah, those are my 3.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree. You actually stole mine. I was going to go the Knights because I wrote them off. I had them in the bottom 4 this year just because of their loss of Pearce and then obviously Brayley as well in the preseason. So I thought that was going to be really, really hard to get by. So, and even just the way they played on the weekend against Penrith, they were down a man for pretty much 60 minutes of that game, and they didn't go away. They sort of stayed with Penrith, and Penrith, we've all established they're the team to beat now this year. They're going again. So to do that, they were phenomenal. So I'm going the Knights so far, and it's going to be interesting. Normally we start to see all these teams now. It gets going, and then basically this is now where they start to, the teams that needed to prove something will either have to push on or they start to go back to the pack. So the next month of footy is going to show who are the pretenders and who are in this for the money. So anyway, boys, that's it. We're back into it. As I said, from now on, we'll probably do every fortnight the video just to space them out and get some more talking points. So enjoy the footy. This time in 2 weeks, I think I will organise Sid to go up to see Todd Payton, let him have a bit of a chat to him. We'll record it and put it on our page. So anyway, cheerio. Enjoy, boys, and enjoy the footy.